Greetings, Warlords! In this video I'll be showing how to use the site iridio.net to play a game of Conquest. I will also be showing all of the other features that the site currently has. Now you might be thinking, didn't you already make one of these videos? And yes, I did, but the site has gone through many updates since then, and so now that video is quite outdated. You don't need to have seen the previous video in order to follow along with this one, as this one will be going through everything for the first time essentially. As this is going to be quite a long video, as we're discussing many aspects of the site, feel free to use the timestamps in the description of the video in order to jump to the areas you're interested in. Great, let's get started. So first things first, when you type iridio.net into your browser, you'll be taken to this landing page here. So it's got a bunch of handy references for like the Learn to Play guide, the rules reference, as well as ConquestDB, which is a deck builder for the game. So now let's look at login and signups. So these are just your generic login and signup pages that you've seen on many websites. So I'm just going to log in as this one. As this one is a brand new user I've just created for this showcase. So since it's new and I haven't uploaded a profile picture, we just have Captain Cato as the profile picture here. Great, so now we're logged in, let's go over to decks and we can start deck building. So since we're a new user, we're given 7 decks to start with. The 7 decks because in the core set there are 7 different factions you can play, so we have 1 deck for each of the factions. So I'm just going to refresh briefly here. You always start with 5 decks shown here. Then if you want to load more, you can press the load more button. Then you'll be able to scroll down. If you keep pressing, it won't do anything since we've only got 7 decks currently. Next up, so let's try loading one of these decks. So let's load Cato Core. So you press the load deck button, and then it shows, what is it? It gives us all of the data for this deck. So we've got our army units here, our signature squad, events, attachments, and supports. We also have a card count here, which tracks the number of cards. You have to have 50 cards in your deck for it to be a legal deck. It also shows the name as well as the ally. So if we wanted to, we could make some changes, like let's say we've got this veteran Brother Maxus here, so we've got 1 copy of him currently. So let's say we want to increase it to 2 copies, so we'll just increase that by 1, then press send deck. And now if I press, well, I'm going to load one of the other decks, then I'm going to load Cato again, and we can see we now have 2 copies. So I want to remove all of these Ultramarines Dreadnoughts, can do that, and they're gone. But now we don't have enough cards anymore. It will say 8 less cards here compared to here because these don't count as cards for what we're looking at here. So we just need to add 1 more somewhere. Let's add a 10th Company Scout. Let's send deck. And success. So our deck has been saved. And if we load it again, we can see if the Ultramarines Dreadnought is now gone. So hopefully that's quite self-explanatory. So now let's look at if we wanted to create our own deck. So to do that, we press decks. And then first we're going to need to enter the name of the warlord that we want to build a deck for. So let's say we want to build one for Nazdreg. So we're going to enter Nazdreg, and you can see here that we're suggested the names of the cards we want that we can use. So we could click one of those. Nazdreg's a pretty simple guy to type, so we just won't bother. So we've got the warlord there and the signature squad already ready for us. So now let's give our deck a name, since we're going to need to do that in order to actually save it. Let's go with a Nazdreg tutorial. So now we've given it a name, so now we can select an ally. We don't have to select an ally, but we're going to just to show it off. So in this case, going to click. So there's the alignment wheel, which isn't shown here. But essentially each warlord, each of the core set factions can ally with one of the 2 other factions. So in the case of orcs, you can either ally with Chaos, who are here, or Estramental, who are here. You can see in the list here that each each of the two adjacent factions are the allies of the center one. So for example, if we look at Eldar here, their allies would be Tau and Dark Eldar. So I guess the alignment wheel is kind of shown in that way. But like how here with Orcs, we can see we have Chaos as one of our possible allies and Asran as the other. So now we've done that, let's try adding a card to our deck. So let's add a Goth Boys. Just going to type it in. And then you can see we've got the autocomplete here. So we've got many different cards we can add. So we're going to go with this Goth Boys and press enter. You can use the plus and minus buttons to increase or decrease number of cards. You can only have 3 copies of a card though, so if I keep pressing plus it won't do anything. I can only have 3 copies of Goth Boys. So now let's try adding some more cards. How about a Void Pirate? This is a neutral card, so I'll be able to add this to my deck. And now let's try adding, a Possessed or Chaos Fanatic. Let's go for Chaos Fanatics. So Chaos Fanatics, they're a Chaos card, they're in particular a common Chaos card, so we'll be able to add them to our deck without any issues. And now let's try adding an illegal card to our deck. So one of those could be what cards are there? Tzeentch's Firestorm. So this is a loyal Chaos card, so we shouldn't be able to add it to our deck. Add card, and it does not get added, as it is not a legal card for us. We could try adding other cards, which are also not legal, like this Chaos Chosen, and it also doesn't get added because, again, not a legal card. And we've only added army units there, so I'm just going to show off adding a different card, like an event. So let's go with Battle Cry. They've got a lot of different options for battle here. Press add card, and the card gets added here. And we can use plus and minus buttons as usual. So when we're ready to save the deck, we can just press send deck, and then it will save it. But in this case, we don't have enough cards. So right now I could complete this, but you probably already understood well enough how to use this. It's not too complicated to figure out really. But let's show off one more thing that you should be aware of. So there's some cards in the games called pledges. I'm just going to add one of these now. So let's add this War Arbuts. So pledges are special cards which you can only have one of them, and they're drawn in your opening hand, and yeah, they're just a bit different to normal cards. So pledges go up here. If you want to remove a pledge from your deck, you can just press this. You can just press the pledge and it will get removed automatically, so you don't have to have it anymore. Great, so that's deck building purely on Iridial. Now, this is admittedly not a particularly fantastic or convenient way to deck build, because you can't really tell what these cards do. Like if we look at this Chaos Fanatics, I mean, we've got the name, but we don't know what it does, or what its stats are, or whether or not... We know it's a legal card for a deck, otherwise the deck builder wouldn't have let us add it. But we might want to know what the card actually does. So for that, we have ConquestDB.com. On this site, there is a card search function, as well as a deck system for you to save your decks, as well as copy other people's decks. So let's go to the cards page and search for Chaos Fanatics. I'm not going to copy it all, and we can see Chaos Fanatics has shown up here. Then we can click it and we can see what it does. Its stats will be listed in the text here, things like that, as well as traits. But you can also just look at the image and it should be good enough for you to get most of the information you want. Or whatever information it is. So now we've looked at that, let's look at downloading a deck from ConquestDB.com and importing it into Iridial. So I'm going to press View Published Decks. And then let's look at one of these. Let's look at this one. So we're going to want to download this deck. So to do that, we need to press Download Deck. So then it will show up. You'll get a deck text file. You can open that in the contents here, and you just copy all of this. Control C, or right-click copy. Then we go back to decks. We click the Show/Hide Manual button. So there'll be a bunch of text here. This would be if you wanted to edit the deck manually, but we don't. We want to import one, so we're just going to remove all of that. Then we're going to paste the text we copied, and then we're going to press Send Deck. So now if we filter by space rings, we can see that we have mobilized the Ultramarines here. And we can load it, and we've got all the information. Got all the army units, sports, blah, blah. Great. So now we've shown how to both import a deck as well as how to build a deck on the site. Let's go and look at some of the other pages. So now let's move on to the settings page. So settings page is just where you adjust your settings. So you have your logged in, who you're logged in as, which is testing 7 for me at the moment. You've got a password change if you need to change your password. Another logout button in case this one wasn't doing it for you. And then you've got a change profile picture area here. So where you can just press this to browse for your files for an image. Then you can press upload, and that will change your profile picture. And then over here we have the game settings. So game settings are just things like the card back that you use. Well, you'll see these more when we get into an actual game. And also things like the background. So I'm just going to leave this as the Imperial Keeler and the default for now. And you can see it's just color settings are default and Imperial Keeler. So help is helpful. We're not going to discuss this quite yet because you need to understand how the game works first. So let's move over to play. So here we have the lobby screen. So first of all, we have on this box here, we have the lobbies or the available games, as well as the active games. So currently there's no available games. If we were to press create lobby, then we'd create a game here. We can then press remove lobby to remove the game. Then we've got settings here, such as private, Foco Rata, custom Rata, as well as the 6 different sectors which you can play on. So I'm going to make a private lobby, and then we can see here we've got our name versus, and then against no one else because no one else has joined yet. We've got a settings button here which we can expand to see what the settings are. So in this case it's private. There's no errata because I didn't pick either of these. I've got the attracted sector, which is this one. As well as we also have the time created, which is just to show if the game was created recently or not. So now we've done that, let's move on to this bit. So here we can choose one of our decks to play with. So let's say we want to play with Mobilize the Ultramarines, so we can just click, and then it will be highlighted like this, show it it's currently selected. Now when the game starts, we'll be playing with this deck. So that's great, but we need to have an opponent for this. So I have a second screen, here it is. So how I'm going to do this is I'm going to be logged in on an incognito or a private window as an callback. And then on the main window, the standard window, I'm going to be logged in as testing 7. So I'm going to have to flick between the screens quite a bit like this. I will try to keep it to a minimum, but there's going to be at least a little bit of screen flickering. Not much I could do about it. So let's go to play, and then we can see that there's a lobby available to join, so we're going to press join lobby. And then there'll be, we can pick one of our decks here. There's only 5 decks here, so we can press load more to load more of them. We can scroll, if we want to load even more, we can just keep pressing. Right, let's go with I've got too many of these. Let's go with this calibrated learning. So I've got our deck selected. This one's got our deck selected. Okay, so we're all ready to go. So we're going to press start game. Great. We are now in the game and we can start playing. So we can see that both players are in the game if we're looking at each of the screens. And also, as testing 7, we're on the bottom of the screen here, while as callback, we're on the bottom of the screen here, despite being player 2. It's because you are always the lower player, regardless of which side you're on, or which player number you are. You will see it says cards P2 and cards P1, just to show that you are indeed different players, even though they do look very similar. We can also see that callback here has a custom card back for his cards. He's chosen the Chaos one, probably because he's playing a Chaos Warlord. Well, we're just running the default one. Great, so let's start talking about just the general layout. So let's start with the non-game stuff first. So that will be the stuff, most of the stuff over here. So first things first, down here we've got chat system. This is the chat box. So if we can type a message and say hello, and then I call back and type a message and say something. So pretty simple. Just above this, we have 2 pattern action buttons. These will be explained during the game. We've got the zoom in, zoom out buttons, which zoom in the game, as well as everything else actually. This is helpful if you struggle to see the cards. Rather than a bunch of sliders and things to help you actually navigate the images like this, as it is very zoomed in. You're supposed to zoom out to zoom back out to more usual levels. Up here we have a helper card, so if we hover over one of the cards in our hand, you can see that it shows what the card is. And then if we click it, we move that. If we click it, then the card expands so we can better read it. So in this case, does some stuff. Yep. And if we hover over a planet while it's like this, then we'll see that the planet is also shown horizontally instead of vertically. Whereas if we hover over any of the other cards, it'll show them vertically. Move it back. Great. So let's move it back. Okay, let's start with these boxes here. So this blue box here, this shows who is the current turn, or who is being waited on for some kind of effect or action or whatever. So usually this also provides some extra information like what phase it is, what mode we're in, what's actually being resolved, and also the current user. If we look between the 2 users, we can see on this page that the text is in red, while on this page text is in green. That's because if you are the player who's being waited on, the text will be in green to show that you're being waited on, just to show that you're up. You've got to do something. You can also drag this around if you want, so if you don't like where it is, you can just move it like down here or something, or maybe over here. Who knows? I'm just going to leave it here for now. Right, so now I've got the choices box. This is a red box. This one you can also move around, so if you don't like where it is, you can just move it. So similar to the blue box, except that this one handles making choices during the game. So for example, here we have a choice of mulliganing the opening hand, so we just have a simple choice of yes or no. So if we do want to mulligan, then we'll just press yes. If we don't, we'll press no. And we'll discuss what a mulligan is in a moment. And if you want to, if maybe there's a lot of choices here, you don't want to see too many of them, or all of them, any of them, you can just press this and then it will hide them, and you can just press it again to show them again. Great. So now let's start with the actual game area. So we're player 1 down here, but should keep in mind that player 2 is exactly the same. They're just on the other side of the table. So on the bottom left, we'll just start with the bottom left. We have 3 piles. 2 of them are currently empty. We have the removed from game pile, which doesn't get used often, but it does if you're playing Necrons, or that's basically it actually. We've got the discard pile, so if we were to play one of the cards, or maybe one of our units got destroyed, then it will get moved to the discard pile, and that will be it, it will be gone. But maybe there'd be some cards in our hand, or cards in our deck, which could get the card back. But of course, right now it's currently empty. I've got our deck. So the deck is usually just a card back, as we can see over here. But when you hover over your deck, you'll see the number show up. So this is the number of cards left in that deck. So in this case, we've got 46 cards in our deck. If this number was to reach 0, we would lose the game, so we don't want to draw our whole deck. Obviously, more cards is always good. So just above these 3 powers, we have Resources Tracker, which is just a simple yellow number. So in this case, it's indicating we have 7 resources. To next to that, we have the Initiative token for whoever currently has the initiative. So in this case, player 1 always starts with the initiative, so they've got it. When player 2 has the initiative, it will swap over to this side. What else? Next up, let's go to the cards. So this is our hand of cards here. So currently we've got 7 cards, and it will count as here to show how many cards we've got. If we've got a huge number of cards, then there will be a scroll bar to scroll along the cards, just so we can actually read all of them. Then here we've got the headquarters. So this is where we put our supports, and any units that retreat from the planet get put in the headquarters. Currently our warlord is the only unit in the headquarters, but there could be more. Again, if there were too many, there'd be a scroll wheel. And then we have a planet victory display, which is where any of the planets we capture will go. Great, so now let's talk about this big center area here. So in the very center we have the planets. So in each game there's always 7 planets used. The first 5 are face up, and the last 2 will be revealed during the game. Just below that we have each of the areas for the for the units to be played. So if we wanted to play a unit, it will be put into these boxes to show that it's at that planet. And that's about it. Yeah, I think that's it. Aside from that, the leftmost planet is always considered the first planet. So we never start from the right, we always start from the left. If we look at the second player's screen, then we can see that the first planet is also on the left. Great. Anything else? Nope, I think that's good. So, let's get cracking. We have a choice of mulliganing the opening hand, or we can just choose not to. So we've got 1, 2. We've only got 2 units in our opening hand here, so I am going to mulligan it. Okay. And now it will be the opponent's turn to choose whether or not to mulligan their hand. And you can see in here that it says that they mulliganed their hand, or we mulliganed our hand. So we've got only units in this hand. It's pretty good. I'm gonna keep this one, so I'm gonna say no. Great. So now we're actually going to be able to play the game. So first we can play one of our cards. So let's start with support. So this support here, it's got a lot of text on the card, but it's not particularly important because we just want to play it for now, just to show how you play the support. So we have 7 resources. It costs 0, so it's going to not cost us anything. We're going to have 7 resources after we play it. So we'll just click it, and it has been added to our headquarters. And you can see here it did not spend any of our resources. So this support has a reaction after it enters play. Well, sort of a reaction. It's a bit complicated, but it's not particularly important here. That's details. So we'll be offered what we want to do with it, whether we want to say yes or no to the reaction. In this case, though, it's a forced one, so we don't have a choice. We just have to say yes. And then we're offered one of these 4 traits to choose. So in this case, we're going to choose Ultramarines. And now, after the combat phase begins, we'll have a reaction where we can draw a card or gain a resource. But we can only use that ability if each unit I control shares the chosen trait. So as we chose Ultramarines, and to say in the chat here, chose the Ultramarines trait, all of our units need to have Ultramarines. Not a problem for us, since they already do. So that's that. And now it'll be the opponent's turn to have a turn. Right, let's play one of these Splintered Path Acolytes. So we'll click the card. And then we can choose where to deploy the card. So this card costs 1, so we have 7 resources. It's going to cost 1. We have 6 resources left. So let's say we want to deploy it to Atrox Prime. And we can see we've got 6 resources now. So now it's back to Cato. So let's play this frontline rhinos. So this says after you deploy this unit, Rally 6 are non-vehicle. Okay, that's going to do some stuff. So we'll get to that in a moment. But let's first play the card. So it costs 2, so we're going to go down to 5 resources, as we saw. So now we have a choice of whether or not we want to resolve this reaction, which triggers after we deploy the unit. So we've got a yes or no. We're going to say yes. And then we can choose. So here we've got to Rally 6 a non-vehicle Space Marine unit. So depending on the card, sometimes these are shown as actual card images, and sometimes they're just text like this. If it's text like this, you can look the cards up on ConquestDB.com. That way you can make a more informed choice of what you're actually choosing between here. In this case, I'm going to click the Storming Librarian. Actually, I'm going to try clicking the Cato Stronghold, but it won't do anything because that's not a valid card for us to select. So we're going to select Storming Librarian. And it has been attached to first line rhinos, which we'll see has an effect later on. So now we're going to go back to Chaos. So Chaos, we're going to use this Alluring Daemonet, or deploy it rather. So it costs 3, but it's a daemon. If you look at its traits here, we can see that it has the daemon trait, which means that we can use our Splinter Path Acolytist here to reduce the cost by 2 if we sacrifice the Acolyte. So we are going to do that. So we're going to click the card and then we're going to put it at Taos. And then we can see that we're offered discount. Oops. Okay, this one. Discount. So we can just click the Splinter Path here and it will sacrifice it. And we only paid 1 resource. So we had 6 resources before that. Cost us 1 resource since it was discounted by 2. And the Alluring Daemonet has now entered play at Taos. And our Splinter Path has been discarded. Great, so now it is Space Marine's turn again. So we're going to deploy this Sicarius as chosen. I'm going to put it at Iridium. This card is an effect where after it enters play, we move a target enemy army in its adjacent planet to this planet and deal it 1 damage. So we're going to say yes to that, and we're going to move this Alluring Daemonet. So as you can see here, it's been moved, and now there's a red targeting icon over it to show that it's currently being affected by something, in this case damage. So we can see in the helpful info box that someone's being asked to shield, or as Colback is being asked to shield. And to shield, we can either click a card in our hand, use a shield card, or we can pass to not use a shield. There's other kind of special shield effects as well, but we're not going to cover those for now. In this case, we don't have any shield cards in our hands, so we're going to have to pass. A shield card would be one like this promotion here, where we can see that it has 1 shield here, or this Primal Howl, which has 2 shields. So now it's Chaos's turn again. So let's play this expendable pawn to Taos seems like a good idea. Now it'll be Space Marine's turn. And they're going to play an attachment. So we're going to play this copy of Promotion. So it's an attachment, so it needs to go on an army unit. Well, it has to go on a unit. It doesn't have to necessarily be an army unit, but if we read Promotion here, it specifically says attached to an army unit. So we can't put it on our Warlord or this support, but we can put it on this card is chosen. So we're going to click for Promotion, and then we're going to click on the card we want to put it on. So this card is chosen, click, and see it is gone. The promotion is now on Scarce Chosen. Just go back to callback. And we can play another card. So let's play these Chaos Fanatics. Then it's back to Space Marines. Okay, let's use this just to show off how it works. So this Terminator armor, it has the Deep Strike keyword on the card. Oops. Here. Little finicky miss. So this means that we can put it into reserve instead of deploying it normally. And then we can deep strike it later for the deep strike cost. So to put a card into reserve rather, we just click the card and then it'll ask, do you want to put that card into reserve? So we could say normal deploy and deploy it like a regular attachment. We're going to say yes, want to deploy it into reserve. And then we'll just click a planet to deploy it to. So let's click Iridium. And it costs 1 just because that's the cost for putting any card into reserve, regardless of what the actual deep strike value is. And we can see that the card is now in reserve. If we hover over it, we can see the card. Whereas if our opponent hovers over it, they just see a card back, so they don't know what card that is. So now it's Chaos's turn again, so we're going to play an Incubus Warrior. I'm going to put it at Atrix Prime. Then it's Kato's turn. So we're out of cards we can play, so we're just going to press Pass. Which means that now we can't take any more deploy turns, while our opponent still can. So we're going to play this Uncontrollable Rioters. So it costs 0, and we're going to put it at... Let's put it at Cardiff. And then, as you can see here, we did not, it's testing 7, the other player, the Kato player, did not get a deploy turn since we've already passed. So it's Corbeck's turn again. And now we are going to pass. Now each player can choose a planet to commit their Warlord to. So once you just, to commit to a planet, you just have to click the planet and then it'll be locked in. So if we want to commit Vashalur to Iridial, for example, then we'll just click Iridial and he'll be sent to Iridial. Once we've clicked a planet, we won't be able to change it though, so you better be careful. Better not click a planet until you're certain that you're ready to commit your Warlord there. Meanwhile, for Kato, same thing applies. We can just click any of the planets and then he'll get deployed. He'll be committed there, sorry. So let's say that Kato wants to go to Ossus 4 and Vashalur wants to go to Cardiff. So Kato is going to click Ossus like this. And we'll see in the chat where it says the player has chosen the planet to commit their Warlord. And then Vashalur will go to Cardiff. And we can see the walls have both moved. Great, so now we're going to move on to the command. So the command is normally a very tedious bit where you have to go through each planet one at a time to determine who wins, but on Iridial it's fully automated for you. So first we have a step before we do the command to resolve any reactions or card effects which might happen when you commit your warlords to the planets. We don't have any of those in this case, so each player can just press pass. It'll say ready to start command struggle, and press pass again. And then a bunch of things happened here. As we are now after the command struggle, we can see that each player has Spaceman's here, they've drawn a card, gained some resources, and also Chaos has drawn some cards and gained some resources. Fantastic. So now we have a window for actions after the command struggle, but before the combat phase. So here, no one has anything, so we're just going to both pass. And now we have a choice here for Space Marines. It says Mobilize with Chapter. That's the support we have in our HQ here. Where after the combat phase begins, we can draw a card or gain a resource. So we're going to say yes to that. Then we can choose card or resource. So let's say we're going to choose a card. Oops, card. Got an Eagle Recruit. So now we're at the stage before the battle, but during the combat phase. So this is a window for us to resolve any actions before the battle officially begins. In this case, neither of us have any of those, so we're just going to pass both of us. And now we have a window for actually taking combat turns. So during these combat turns, if you want to take an action, you can just press the action button here, and it will say in chat wants to take an action, and then to let you. Otherwise, we don't do that, and we just carry on with what we're doing. So in this case, we're at the ranged skirmish, so if anyone has any ranged units, they could attack now. but no one does, so they're both just going to pass. So normally Space Marines would have the initiative here because they were the first player. They started the initiative. However, because Vashalur is the only warlord present at this planet, he steals the initiative for this battle, so he's got it. So we're going to use a unit to attack. Let's say we're going to use these uncontrollable risers to attack for frontline rhinos. So we just click the uncontrollable risers, and then we click the first line rhinos in order to attack them. So we have an attack value of 2 on this unit, and we're going to click the rhinos, and we can see we have 2 damage shown here, as well as a red icon to show who's being attacked. So now Space Marines can use a card as a shield card if we want to. So let's say yes, we do want to. We're going to use this Primal Hound as a shield card, because this unit only has 2 health, so if we don't shield it, it will die. So we use this Primal Hound by clicking on it, and we can see the card is now in our discard, and the damage got removed. And now it is the Space Marines player's turn to attack. So let's click the first line rhinos, attack for 2. Then we're going to click the uncontrollable rioters to attack for 2. Now we can choose to shield the card, or we can just pass. In this case, just to show it off, I'm going to press this expendable pawn. So this unit allows me to prevent 2 damage assigned to another unit at an adjacent planet. So I'm going to click it, and we can see that the 2 damage got blocked, and the expendable pawn has been sacrificed. It has entered my discard pile. And that's it. If there was more incoming damage, we could then also shield that as well, but that was just a 2 damage attack. So we fully blocked all of it. Now Vashalur can attack. So Vashalur, we click him to attack. Then we have the choice, because he is a warlord, we can choose to either retreat him if we would rather he get away from the combat. Maybe it's too dangerous or something like that. Or we can choose not to retreat him and just attack normally. So we're just going to click no to retreat in the wall to attack normally. Now Vashalur is the area effect keyword, so that means that he can click the planet in order to deal 1 damage to each unit of that planet. So click the planet, and 1 damage is dealt to first line rhinos. Now admittedly this is kind of the same thing as attacking for 1 normally here anyway, since there's only 1 unit, but it's helpful just to show that it does work, just how it works. So now Space Marines can shield, so it's taking 1 damage, and it has 2 health, so it's going to survive this attack, so we're going to just pass here. So now Space Marines are going to take an action. We want to play this Drop Pod Assault in our hand, which will let us search our deck for a Space Marines unit with point cost 3 or lower and put it into play at Karnov. So let's say yes, we do want to do that, so we're going to press Action and press Drop Pod. And then in the choices box here, we are shown the cards which we have found on the top of our deck. So in this case, we only have 1 option that we can actually choose for this, which is the Tactical Squad cardness here. Everything else is not a unit, so they're not valid cards for it. So click that. And Tactical Squad cardness is at the planet. So this also has the area effect keyword, so this is pretty good, as I'll be able to show it attacking multiple units. So we just click the Tactical Squad, and then we click Karnov, and that's 1 damage to each unit. So we can first choose to shield the uncontrollable rioters. So let's say yes, we do. We can shield with this 2 shield card. And then we can choose to shield Vashalur, and then we're going to say we're not going to shield him, so just going to pass and take 1. So here we used Daniel the Betrayer as a shield, which caused it to enter our discard pile. And since we control no cultist token, let me bring it up so it's a bit easier to read. Since we control no cultist token, we can put a cultist token into play at our HQ. So we're going to say yes, and we can see that we have a cultist token in our HQ now. Great. So now Callback Chaos player can attack, but he doesn't have any ready units, so he's going to pass. Then Space Marines can attack, but he also doesn't have any ready units, so he's going to pass. So now we can choose to retreat or not. So let's say that let's say the uncontrollable writers, they want to retreat because they only have one health rather, so if they stick around any longer, they're probably going to get killed by this tactical squad. And Vashler wants to stay, so we'll press pass to stay with Vashler. Now it's Space Marines' turn to attack. I think they're feeling pretty good about winning this combat, so they're going to stay. Now it's Vashler's turn to attack, so he's going to use his area effect ability again. We have the choice of retreating, but we're not going to retreat. So here we're going to have the first line runners taking damage, as well as the tactical. So first line runners are going to get destroyed here, unless we shield. We're not going to shield. And tactical squad takes 1 damage. So when the first line rhinos leaves play, they can put the card that was attached to them. We attached a Storming Librarian to them earlier. We can put the card into play exhausted at the same time. So we're going to say yes to that. And we can now see that the Storming Librarian is entered play. So now it's Vashler has just destroyed an enemy army unit while he was attacking, so he gets to put a cultist token into play at his HQ, so he's going to say yes to that. And now it's Space Marine's turn to attack. So Space Marine's just going to attack for 1 damage to Vashler, not going to shield, and then he passes, no units. Space Marines also passes, no units. And then we can retreat. Now this is a pretty big guy, so it's not going to fight that. Since it's not a fight you can win, so he's going to retreat. And Space Marines don't need to retreat because they're going to win the battle here. Storming Librarian, this is a reaction which lets it deal damage to enemy units of this planet that it has previously attacked. But there aren't any of them, so it's just going to say no, it's not going to do anything. So Callback has no units, so he can't do any damage, so he just passes. And now Space Marines win the battle. So to win the battle, you just have to click one of your units of the planet. It will check that your opponent has no units there, and then say, yes, you have won the battle. So now we have the option to resolve a battle ability. So Carnif says, trigger a battle ability of another planet in play. So that could be one of Taurus, Radio, Ossus, or Atrox. So in this case, let's say we want to use Atrox. So Atrox lets us deal 1 damage to each unit at a target player's HQ or an adjacent planet. So we're going to click one of the cards in the enemy HQ, and then to deal 1 damage to each of them. Now we can shield this damage, but we don't actually have any shield cards in our hand, so we're going to have to decline that. So we lose all those cultists and our uncontrollable rioters. Ah well, so now we have a window for actions between battles. We don't have any of those. We have another battle beginning, ranged again, but no ranged units. And then Kato will attack. 2. Got no shields, so he dies. Kato can gain a resource after an enemy unit of his planet is destroyed, so we will do that. And now it's Callback's turn to attack, but no units. Both sides ready. And then we can retreat, but no side wants to retreat. And now Captain Kato wins, so we'll say resolve a battle ability. So Ossus 4 lets us take a resource from our opponents. We're going to say yes, and we'll see that the numbers on the sides here get swapped, as we've gained 1 resource and they've lost 1 resource. Great. We have another window allowed for actions between battles. Neither side has any of those, so we're just going to pass. And then we have a window for actions during the headquarters phase, but again, none of those. Great, so we're on to the next round. So Vashler has the initiative now, but for real this time. So he's going to play this STC fragment, which lets us discount elites in our hand. And then Kato, he's going to play this Sicarius is chosen to move this Incubus warrior to another planet and deal it 1 damage. So he's going to put it here on Ossus. Click the Incubus, takes 1, and we are going to shield this, I think. So Vashler is going to click this shield icon, prevent the damage. And now we're going to use this SCC fragment to deploy the mask, which is a big big elite unit, got a lot of text in it, but it doesn't matter too much for now. So we're going to put it at terrace, and then we're going to use this STC to discount it by 2. So we only paid 4 resources for that, despite it being a 6 cost card. Now Space Marines' turn again. We're out of cards we want to play. We could play this Eager Recruit, but it has ambush on it, so we could deploy it during the combat phase, so no need to do that. It's just going to pass. Chaos's turn. We're going to play a Heretic Inventor. So it doesn't really matter where we put this because it has the reaction of after this unit enters play, your opponent may move it to a planet of his choice. So if we go to the Kato's screen, we can see we have a choice of whether or not we want to move this Heretic Inventor. So let's say we say yes, we do want to move it. Then we just have to click one of the planets to move it to. So let's move it to Iridium. And now it's been moved. Chaos can take a turn, but we're out of stuff, so we're going to pass. Kato already passed, so now we're committing Warlords again. So let's say Kato decides to fight at Taurus. So he's going to go to Taurus, and then Vashula, he's gonna want to move his mask. So he's going to go to Planum, since Planum lets you move a non-Warlord unit you control to another planet. Okay, so they both committed. Warlord here and Warlord here. No one has any actions for the command struggle. Drawn some cards, got some resources. Move on again. Mobilize the chapter for the Space Marines so we can draw a card or gain a resource. We can draw a card. Right, and now we're at the combat, but we're not quite at the battle. Players could take actions if they wanted to during the battle, but don't have any of those. Storm Librarian hasn't attacked anyone yet, so it's not going to do anything. So ranged, we've got no ranged. Kato has stolen the initiative for this battle because he's the only world here. Going to pass. And now Kato can attack. So he's going to attack for 2 into the mask. And now we can shield. We're not going to shield. And then we can attack with the mask. So let's say we're going to attack this tactical squad. So that's 3 damage incoming. We can choose to shield. And let's say yes, we do choose to shield. We're going to use this Primal Howl as a shield. So the mask has 2 different reactions after it resolves its attack. Its first is sweep, which will explain that. And second is its own custom reaction, which says after this unit resolves an attack, put a cultist token into play at this planet. So we're going to say the mask. And then yes, and that puts the cultist token into play. And then we're going to say sweep. So sweep is a keyword here, which lets you perform a second attack using the sweep value instead of the attack value. So we can attack one of the other units, not the tactical squad though, because that'll be the same unit. And sweep has to attack a different unit. So we can attack one of these units for 1 damage. So let's say we want to attack a Storming Librarian. Great. So, and now we can shield. Well, I'm not going to shield. And the mask can trigger again because sweep counts as an attack. We get another cultist. So now it is... whose turn is it? Space Marine's turn to have a turn. So we're not going to do anything with Space Marine's turn, I'm just going to pass. And then Chaos can attack. So we're going to attack this... We're going to attack the Tactical Squad Cardenas for 1 damage. And then Space Marines are going to shield that 1 damage. Now Space Marines are going to take an action to deploy this Eager Recruit from their hand to the planet. So we're going to click the Eager Recruit, then we're going to click a planet, this one. And then the Eager Recruit is going to attack for 2 damage against this cultist. It dies, of course. And Captain Kato Sicarius can trigger to gain another resource. No more actions for Chaos, and no more actions for Space Marines. We can retreat. Just for gameplay purposes, I'm going to show no retreat in this case, just to show off some of the stuff. Storming Librarian still isn't attacked from anyone, so it doesn't do anything. Okay. Tactical Squad is going to attack for area effect against each of these units. So the mask's going to take 1, and cultist at shield that cultist. Then the mask can attack. It's going to attack tactical squad is very important to kill here, but let's see if we can do something else. Mask puts another cultist into play, sweep 1, this, and puts another cultist. Then we can attack some more, so we can attack this cultist. More money from Kato. Cultist can attack. Kato can attack one of the cultists again. Gain another resource. Chaos's turn. Don't have any units. And then the Storm Librarian will attack the mask. And here, just to show this off as well, we're going to use the mask to use its retaliate ability. So we're just going to click the mask, and then to sacrifice itself to deal 4 damage to the Storm Librarian. I'm on the wrong screen. There we go. 4 damage. Now we can shield it, but again, no shields. Fantastic. And note that did not trigger Captain Kato Sicarius, since when you sacrifice the mask, that is different to a unit being destroyed. So he doesn't get a resource out of it. Cool. Right, that's about everything I wanted to show for this one. We will get to the end of the combat just to see it off. I should have retreated there. Space Marines can retreat. We're not going to. Code's going to retreat. Space Marines win. We resolve battle ability. We do have less units than our opponent, so we get to use this. Let's draw 3 cards. And there we go. And now we're off to having another headquarters phase, so we both draw some cards, get some more resources. Vashler would have a battle at Planum, yada yada. Basically just more stuff. Anything else you want to look at? Let's look at Alluring Daemonet, because we've only shown off actions in our hand so far. So let's show off one which happens in play. So this Alluring Daemonet, we can, as a combat action, sacrifice the cultist unit we control to move an enemy army unit at an adjacent planet to this planet. So we can click the Alluring Daemonet. Well, first we have to click action. Then we click Alluring Daemonet, and we see we've got a blue reticle. Then we click a cultist token, and then we just click an army unit. So let's click where Scarce is chosen, and he's moved over. Great, that was mostly everything I wanted to show off. Other things which are helpful here. So if we look over this, if we hover over the Alluring Daemonet, we get an info box. This info box is present for all of our cards actually. But in this case we can see that it says once per phase ability used. That lets us track to see which abilities have been used, things like that. And there's also other effects like that. For example, do any of these relevant? Nope. Let me add to play a card. So this Kaschan Outpost, we can exhaust it to give a unit +2 attack for its next attack. So we're going to give it to this Incubus Warrior, for example, or this Alluring Daemonet. Let's give it to Incubus Warrior. And we can then see where it says extra attack next to. So that just indicates that he's getting +2 attack for his next attack. If we then ready the card and apply the effect to the Alluring Daemonet, we can see that it has both the once per phase ability used thing, as well as the extra attack. And if we ready it again and apply it to the Incubus Warrior a second time, we can see the extra attack increases to 4. Great, so that's everything I think. We didn't show off deep striking a card, but it's not too complicated. You'll just be offered a choice of do you want to deep strike a card, and if you say yes, you just click the card and it'll deep strike it for you. Not too complicated. There's also many other card effects and situations which can happen. In this case, for example, we didn't cover any of the interrupts or cancelling effects. Like you play a card when your opponent plays a different card, which can cancel your card, or things like that. Let me see if there's anything else I want to mention here. Ah, yes, one thing I should mention. So now that we've looked at the game a bit, let's look at the help page up here. So there's a lot of debug commands you can use in order to fix any problems. For example, let's say this Heretic Inventor, he needed to have 1 damage on him. We could use command set damage player number, so it would be 2, and then planet number, so we start counting from 0, so it's 0, 1, 2, because this is the 3rd planet that was in the game. The other 2 have just been removed already. 0, 1, 2. Then we have to find the unit position, which would be 0, 1. So second unit of the planet, so therefore he's got unit position 1. And then we set the damage, so it'll be 1 if we want to have him to have 1 damage, or 2 if we want to have 3, etc. Let's just set to 1. So then you can see he's gained 1 damage on him. Now that's great and all, but as you saw, that's a pretty gnarly command to have to use. So I'm working on adding a bunch of new, much easier commands to use. For example, let's say we made a mistake and we didn't want this Incubus Warrior at Ossus 4, we wanted him at Iridial, he'd be way better there. So we can use the command move unit, and just that, nothing else. Just / move -unit. And then we can click the Incubus Warrior. As you can see, we've got a highlight reticle, and then we can just click plant, and he's moved there. Very useful. Anyway, for the full list of commands, yeah, we've got the help page. We've also got the simple commands here. These are the ones you're probably going to be most interested in, because they don't have all these crazy player num cards, amounts, etc. They're all just a single command, which then prompts you to click a card somewhere in order to actually use it. What else is there's also some while you're playing on the site, you can encounter some problems potentially. For example, maybe you're trying to resolve some kind of reaction, but now the reaction's completely just not responding to anything. If that's the case, you can use force quit reactions, and then it'll forcibly quit all the queued reactions, so you don't have to worry about them anymore. Most commonly, you're going to be in the middle of an action of some kind. So let's ready this cache time outpost and take an action. And then actually we decide we don't really want to do that anymore. So we want to cancel it, but it'll say too far in. We can't stop the action midway, we have to conclude it. So if you don't want to use the action anymore, you can use force quit action, and that'll quit it. And you can see that it's got this reticle left over. That's just a visual discrepancy. Just use the command clear reticle, and then you can click the card and it will disappear. Great. What else is there? Ah, yes, there's also /concede and resign. So if you're tired of the game, you know you're going to lose, or maybe you just need to get it over with, then you can use those commands. Let's use one /concede, and then to say this guy wins, and it's ended by concession. Other things, there's also load deck. So load deck is quite important because let's just make a new game here. Let's say one of us has a deck, and then the other one doesn't have a deck. They haven't selected any. Then we start game. It's like, oh no, we didn't load our deck. How are we gonna load it now? So we can use this command, load deck, and then the deck name. So in this case, let's go calibrated alluring. You do have to spell it correctly. Nice, I did spell it correctly. And then it's loaded for you. So not too much of a big deal there, but very helpful if you just forget to pick your deck when you're making the game. Going back to, where was it? Going back to a game. Ah, yes, it was a private one, wasn't it? Was this one? Nope. Nope. This one. There we go, this one. So here we can just go back to, I'm just going to actually copy paste this here as well. So you can see here, actually, if we just go back to the lobby, this is a public game. It's the one which we just made a few seconds ago. So if we click that, then that's that game. But you can see that our game here, which doesn't, which is a private game, it doesn't show up in the active games here. Okay, great. Any other commands? Blah blah. Yeah, there's a lot of other useful ones. Sort hand if you're into that. If maybe you accidentally pass during the deploy phase, you can use unpass deploy. Then you can keep deploying anyway. There's other more complex commands like set damage, add a card to a HQ, things like that. But we're not going to go over those. If you need them, then they're here. Hopefully not too complicated to use. Or we never include the brackets, by the way. So if you wanted to add a card to a player's hand, you just write 1 here, and not open bracket 1 close bracket. That would be wrong. Kind of running out of things to talk about. Okay, yeah, I think that's it. Actually, I will point this tiny thing out. Have I done this yet? I haven't done this. Okay. I'm just going to draw a few cards here. Okay. So, you'll also see on some cards, in the other. You also see that cards in your hand have these little borders around them. This is to show whether or not the card can currently be played. So, for example, this Eagle Recruit has got a combat action on it, and when combat phase, so it can be played, so it has a yellow border around it. We also have enough money for it, so if we set our resources to 0, that's the wrong thing. Then click somewhere. We'll see it now as a blue card back because we don't have enough money anymore. And now it's back to yellow. Meanwhile, these grey card backs, they indicate that the card can't be played, or at least that you wouldn't really play them now. For example, these promotions, they have a grey card back because they have a limited trait. And we have, well, not trait, we have a limited keyword, and we've already played a limited card, this SDC fragment. So we'd have to wait until the next game round in order to play a promotion. And meanwhile, these blue ones, these just mean that the card usually can't be played right now, but it could have an effect of some kind. Maybe it's a Corn Berserker or some other crazy thing like that, where it allows you to play it at a special timing. If we look in Space Marine's hands, we have like this Furious Accounts and this Indomitable, which have their own very specific timings. So you have to keep an eye out for when you can actually play those cards, as the game can't really tell when you can. It will just ask you automatically later on. Okay, great. I think that's everything. Thank you very much for watching this. And I'll hopefully start uploading more games of Warhammer 40,000 ConquestDB card game. As always, if you have any questions or anything, feel free to message me on Discord or post them in the comments of this YouTube video. And if you encounter any bugs, then feel free to also just, say in this, well, probably not really say in the comments of this video, that's not really the right place for it. I don't check the comments too often. You can message me on Discord about those. And you can also visit the GitHub as well, but I don't really expect you to do that. That's a bit immense. And lastly, if you encounter any errors, like actual serious errors, there will be a message in the chat box saying an error has occurred on the server side, and I'll automatically get notified that there was an error, so you don't need to worry about sending me an error report if that happens. Okay, great. That's all then. Thank you for watching and have fun.